Hey everybody, it's Booray, and today we are going to be talking about the SmallRig cage for the Fuji X-H2. All right, before we get started, as always, be sure and check out my podcast. It's called Photobomb. It's available anywhere that podcasts are found. You can join my group on Facebook. It's called Pro Photo Talk with Booray Perry. Nice community there. And follow me on Instagram. Just go to @BourayPerry on Instagram. I post examples of my work and links to my videos and also lots of funny stuff too. So I promise it'll be something nice to have in your feed. Okay, we're going to talk about this SmallRig case today. There's a little story behind this. I recently switched to the X-H2 from the X-T4. If you're new to the channel, you don't know my history, go back and watch all the videos. I made so many videos about this stuff. And one of the problems that I have with cameras, modern cameras, is the cameras are getting smaller and my hands are not getting smaller. Now, I don't have like giant hands. I don't have Uma Thurman hands, but they are big enough that as the cameras are getting smaller, I'm finding it more difficult to hold on to the camera. So let me show you what I'm talking about. It's my X-H2 right back here. Now, just as I picked it up off the table, you'll see I'm just holding it with 2 fingers. Because if I grab this camera, my pinky doesn't really, it doesn't really, it's sometimes I can get it in there, but a lot of times it's just floating loose, right? And going underneath the bottom. And my top finger here, my trigger finger, I can't apply any pressure to the trigger button as I'm picking the camera up or moving it around, or else I'll take a picture. So I kind of usually keep this free floating, right? So a lot of the times when I'm moving this camera around, and I wear it at my hip, so I'm constantly picking up and moving it around during the course of a wedding or a bar mitzvah or an event, a lot of times it's really just these 2 fingers and the back of my palm that are doing all the support on this camera. And I would like to be able to really get more support from the rest of my hand. And so I went looking for some sort of support device, some sort of aftermarket grip that I could put onto the camera. I had a grip that I added to my X-T4, and I'm hoping to find one for the X-H2. Well, guess what? They don't make one yet. I looked around, and it doesn't look like anybody's really making an aftermarket grip yet for the X-H2 and the X-H2s, except for SmallRig. Now, SmallRig, they're not in the business of making grip extensions. What they do is they make camera cages, right? And the camera cage goes on your camera, and it's for videography. I don't know a single stills photographer who uses a camera cage. It's always a videographer because they've got all these holes on them so you can mount all this stuff on the sides. It's got shoe mounts up here, everything that you need so you can mount all the microphones and the lights and everything you need onto your rig. But this particular one does have this little thing down here, right? Which might be just enough for my pinky. So I thought, maybe I'll try it out. And then I looked online and I was like, it's not really cheap. You know, I mean, it's not expensive, but it's not cheap either because it's constructed really firm. You know, it's a well-made cage. I mean, I've known about SmallRig for years, and even though I don't use their products, I know about them because they have a really good reputation. And it's a solid metal, really strong cage, so it's going to cost you a little money. And so I'm kind of like, you know, I'll put it off a little bit longer, and I'll wait to see if somebody comes out with a cheap grip extension that I can get for my camera. And then, lo and behold, who contacts me but SmallRig? And they say, hey, would you like to review one of our products? Well, would I? Sure I would. I'd like to review this right here. So SmallRig sent me this cage, and I'm going to put it on my camera, and I'm going to try it out, and I'll let you know what I think about it. But I want you to know that I got this for free from SmallRig, so you can figure that into what I'm going to say here today. But I'm under no obligation from them to say I like it or I don't like it, and I'm going to give you an honest review of this particular cage. All right, let's get started. All right, first off, let's talk about the things that I don't like, and then we'll talk about the things that I do like, and then we'll kind of do a wrap-up. So the things that I don't like. First of all, it doesn't come with any instructions. Do you really need instructions? Yeah, well, I figured it out, right? I figured it out on my own, but it's kind of weird. They didn't have any instructions, and it didn't have like a thing for you to scan to take you to a page or anything. It just came in a box. No instructions at all. And if you didn't know to pay attention, you might not have noticed that there is a little screw right here on the bottom, and it sticks up right here at the top. It's not doing it right now because I just took the cage off my camera, but it sticks up right here at the top. And if you try and put this cage on your camera without taking that screw down, you could scratch your finish on your camera. So I don't like that. That was kind of, I was like, ooh, I wouldn't want to do that, especially on something I may not even be keeping. And it also comes with this little thing. You know what this is? Yeah, I don't know what this is either. You know why? Because there's no instructions. It doesn't tell you anything. Now, I have since found out what this is. I wrote it down. There's a name for it. What's it called? It's called a side lock adapter. And what it does is it goes right here. You look at the top. Where is it? It's on this side. See this right here? See this little part right here? Hold up so you can see it. That part. This side lock adapter goes on the side right here and locks it down to your camera. So this is a third point of contact for it to be screwed and locked down to your camera. I'll show you how that works when I set it up in just a few minutes. You know what? Before we go any further, I need to actually put this on my camera. It's pretty easy to put on. You have to take the lens off in front of your camera. You take the cage, you slide it right over the front like this. Then you go to the back. There's a tool right here. This is one of the things I like, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second. And you screw it down like that. Now, that other screw that I was talking about a minute ago, it is right, where are you? Right here. And it's a little bitty, oh, look, it's not there. It's fallen out. Here it is. Can you guess what one of the other things that I don't like about this SmallRig is? And this is it right here. When I actually took this off my camera so I could make this video, this screw fell out. And it hit the floor, and I spent about 5 minutes crawling around on the floor trying to find the screw. And if I had not been able to find this screw and had to order another screw, I would not have been happy. So SmallRig, there has to be a way for you to put this screw in here so that you can unscrew it from the device, but it doesn't actually fall out of the device. All right, so that's locked down now. And we put this back in here. And now we've got the rig on the camera. So let's go ahead and put this back on. And now we're ready to go. Okay, another thing that okay, I don't like it. It's not bad. I wish it could be better. And it's this. I am getting this camera because I want to, because of the grip and the pinky grip and the whole 9 yards. This part right here is important to me because this is the part that digs into your palm. Right? Now on my last camera, on my X-T4, I had a grip extension and I actually took this part and I wrapped it in electrical tape to make it softer because at the end of a long gig, I would just have a huge red mark in my palm. And that may happen here too. This feels a little sharp for it to be stuck in your palm all night. But here's the thing. I went in and I looked at this really close. This is where the battery door is. And I'm not sure that it could be fixed. It just may be a necessary evil because they can't make it any wider. It'll interfere with the battery door. So, it's like I wish they could make it different, but I'm not sure they can make it different. So I really can't complain about something that's physically impossible to fix, right? Okay, so now we're going to get to the two things about this particular rig that I really don't like. And here they are. You see my ISO button right here? See it? I use this button a lot in the course of the night. Well, not necessarily a lot, but I use it. And you see where it's located? See this big bar right here? So here's my trigger finger. And now if I want to hit my ISO, instead of just sliding straight back to my ISO, I have to go up over this bar and slide in here. And it's a little bit of a tight squeeze. A little bit of a tight squeeze right there. So that's kind of annoying that suddenly there's this thing that is up here in my button range. And here's what else is annoying. Let's go to this side. See my PASM dial? I got this big bar here. And it's got a nice cold shoe on it. But it also interferes with the PASM dial. So that if I want to turn the PASM dial, I have to kind of go in here like this with my tiny little dainty fingers and try and work it around. And you're only going to get about one turn before you have to reposition and do it again. Right? So you're like, okay. Right? Now, without this, you just reach up here and go, yonk, 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 yonk. That's a technical term, by the way. If you're new to photography and you're not familiar with the yonk, 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 you can look that up. You have to, you could just grab it and turn it. Now, no. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, that's not the best thing in the world. So those are things that I don't like. Let's talk about things that I do like. And the first one is kind of it's a small thing, but I do appreciate it. And it's the box. Yeah, I know, right? Who cares about the box? I don't. It's a very small thing. This is not going to affect your buying of this particular piece of equipment. But here's what I like about the box. It is completely recyclable, and it is plain. The box is not marked up. This box does not say what's in it, which means that what they do is they buy a whole bunch of boxes and they ship everything in the same box, which saves them money. It makes them money and hopefully saves me money, but also just saves on waste and ink and printing and so forth and so on. So when I opened this, I liked that it was about as plain and simple and inexpensive a box as you could possibly get and easily recyclable. Because whenever I get something like new phone, I'm looking at you, new phone. Whenever I get something like a new phone and it comes in this ornate, thick, hard, great box, and you're like, this is so cool, my second thought is, I'm paying for this. They're spending 4 times as much money on their box as they need to, and they're passing that cost along to me. So I'm perfectly okay with you sending something to me in a box that is just cheap, because I'm throwing the box away anyway. Also, I don't like the fact that I feel bad when I throw away an expensive box. So the box, it's a cool thing, and I like it. Now, I've already talked about the construction. The construction is fantastic. Definitely love this. This absolutely feels rock solid. Solid steel. This is going to last a while. Another thing that's really cool is the tool that they put on the bottom. This is magnetic. It's magnetically attached. Now, I don't know if this is going to stay here all the time, but I did go and I looked at some other YouTube reviewers who, actual videographers who use these all the time. And they said, yeah, the tools don't ever fall off. They stay in place, which is really, really cool because I love it. If you send me something that requires a screw or a bolt, if you also send me the tool and if the tool is attached, that's what I want to happen. I have a tripod in my studio and you have to have a special wrench in order to work with it. And they sent the wrench, which was great, but there's no place to keep the wrench. So I taped the wrench to one of the legs in the light stand so that I would always have it and be able to find it. But it'd be great if they just had a little bracket there to hold the wrench. So they do that here. You've always got your tool with you, which I think is a big plus. I mentioned this in the cons section, but it's also in the pro section, and that is that there are 3 points of contact. So you've got your big bolt right here that locks it down. You've got the small one here, which keeps the bottom from rotating. And then on the top here, I don't have it attached right now, but on the top here, right there, there's another attachment that can go right there. And that's your 3rd point of contact to keep the cage on the camera. I also want to point out that it looks to be a really good fit, right? It's not actually touching the camera. Even up in here, it's not actually, so it's not scratching the finish of my camera. That's important. It's just really, really a well-constructed cage. Now, here's something that I wasn't really thinking about when I bought it, but it turned out to be really cool. The bottom of the camera has an Arc-A-Swiss mount built into it. I think it should be like mandatory that if you buy anything that goes on the bottom of the camera, it's automatically got a built-in Arc-A-Swiss mount. Because now I don't have to take a plate off of my tripod and put it onto the bottom of my camera. Because this is an Arc-A-Swiss mount. See the grooves? It's grooves. So it'll go right on my Arc-A-Swiss tripod, no problem. So now I don't have to worry about that. I just said, pet peeve of mine that I really don't like that I've got to do. I'll use my tripod more if it's easier for me to put my camera on. If I'm working in an event, I'm taking pictures, whatever, I'll whip out my tripod. If I can just set it up and go bonk and be done, yeah. But if I have to set it up and then take the thing out and sit there and talk to people while I'm trying to get it, I'm going to get this on the back of the camera, yeah, I'll probably just leave the tripod in the bag, right? So I like it if something's got an Arc-A-Swiss mount on the bottom. Which brings us to the big pro, and that is the pinky. The pinky. Yes, this is the whole reason that I wanted this. This part right here. This right here gives me just enough extension that when I grab this camera, my pinky, as you can see right there, my pinky is always firm. It's not sliding underneath the camera anymore. I now have all 3 fingers on the camera, and you can see room to spare. I love the pinky grip. One of the reasons someone in the comments, I'm sure, will say, why don't you just buy a battery extension? Because then you'll have tons of room. Yeah, but it's too much. The battery extension goes down way far down. It's just too much. I don't need that much extension, and I also don't want that much weight. I don't want to make the camera that much bigger. I only need a little bit, and this is just enough. So now, guess what? My pinky is in firm, and all three of these fingers have got a firm grip on the camera, as opposed to before where I only had two fingers that really had a firm grip on the camera. So the pinky grip part is a plus. And this brings us to the final plus here that I really didn't see coming. All right? Remember back in the things I don't like cons section when I talked about the rail on the top and how the rail right here, I don't like its placement because it's in the way of getting to the ISO button? Well, guess what? The first time I picked this camera up and was swinging around and getting used to it, I had my finger flying like I always do, not really touching anything. And I was thinking, this is great because now I've got three fingers instead of two holding the camera. And then very quickly, after picking the camera up, I just took this finger and I laid it right on that rail and gripped. Oh, I gripped, baby. I got a good grip on this camera. Now, every single finger I have is gripping something solid. All three of these fingers are locked in here, and this right here can grab this rail. Anytime I pull my camera off my hip, I'm moving it around, whatever I'm doing, as long as I'm not pulling the trigger, instead of having this camera finger just resting here, I can grab this rail. It's so rock solid. It really is. I have no problem saying that this is the most secure grip I have ever had on any camera I have ever owned, because even when I was shooting Canon DSLRs back in the day and they had bigger pistol grips built into them, you still couldn't really grab anything with your finger because your finger had to be floating over the buttons and the controls up here. But now there's something to grab. There's something to grip onto. When I've got this thing and I'm moving it, taking it out of my case, I don't care. This is not coming out of my hand, which is great because I don't strap it to myself. I'm free-handing whenever I'm shooting. So I want to know I've got a good grip. And man, do I ever have a good grip. Which brings me to my final thoughts about this particular cage for my camera. What have we learned so far? The pinky grip is good, which is what I bought the cage for. Well, I should say what I was gifted the cage for was because I wanted this pinky grip, and it does a great job of letting me lock in on the camera. The top rail, fantastic. Yeah, I know. I don't like that it's in the way of the ISO button here, but I think that what's going to happen is I'm going to get so used to it that it's not going to matter. You have to remember, I just got this camera. Just started using it a while ago. So as it is right now, I don't even have the muscle memory yet to get to that button instantly. You know, I can't just go like, bam, ISO button. I'm still kind of feeling around for it. And now if I keep this cage on here, that will be instinctual for me. Also, it's kind of easier to find the ISO button. Yeah, the rail's in the way, but I always know it's right on the other side of the rail. All I gotta do is push my finger against the rail and there's the ISO button. Maybe I'm just justifying it, you know? I'm probably just justifying it. But the fact is, I think I'm gonna actually like the top rail because of the increased grip it gives me when I pick up the camera. But there's another huge benefit that I didn't see coming, and in order to talk about that, we have to talk about this. This is a spider holster bracket. Spider holster is what I use to hold my camera. Put my spider holster on, have my camera strapped into my holster on the side of my body. Now, they make the big bracket that goes on the bottom of your camera, and they also make a smaller one that is meant for smaller cameras, mirrorless cameras, right? Now, there's a couple of things about these brackets that I love them. I've used spider holster for years, and I sometimes will use a strap, but most of the time, if it's a long job, I'm going to use a spider holster. I'd rather have it hanging on my hip than hanging on my shoulder for 5 hours. So, here's the thing about the spider holster. The way you're supposed to put the spider holster on the camera is that it mounts like this. This is how it goes. Now, do you see a problem here? Yeah. When this is mounted on the camera, if I can hold it there. You know what? Let me just mount it and then I'll show you. Here we go. When this is mounted on the camera, the peg that slides into the side of the spider holster, guess where it falls? Right in your palm. Yeah. You're holding your camera like this and look, this is right here. You know, maybe you can get back here, you know, but I can't reach the zoom. So I got to go here. So it makes it so that you're doing this. Instead of resting on your palm, you're doing this. And I don't like that. I never have. So when I was shooting Canon, I would take this and I would reverse it so that this came off the back of the camera. And that's not the way that you're supposed to put your Spyder holster onto your camera. And the folks at Spyder Holster don't like it if you do it that way, because that's not the way it's designed to do. But that's the way I did it, and it worked for me. I like to have this sticking off the back. That way, I could still get my hand here without a problem. However, when I got my Fujis and I went to the Fuji X-T4, that became a problem because it just wouldn't grip the camera in the backwards configuration. It wouldn't work. So I tried this one. And this one worked okay for me, except it had the same problem. It wouldn't grip the camera unless you put it in the correct configuration, which meant that this right here was going to be sticking in your palm. But when you put this cage on your camera, everything changes. And here's why. Remember I talked about how this has an Arca-Swiss mount built into the bottom of it? Yeah, that's what makes it so great. This is supposed to be mounted this way, but you can mount it this way. And the grips that are on the bottom of here, the little tabs, they'll fit right into the cage and lock it down so it can't move. So here's what that looks like. Oh, look at how nice this fits in the bottom of this cage. It's got little tabs. Look, it's got a tab right here. Oh, no, where is it? It's got a tab. I can't even show it. There it is. Tab on the back side. See that tab? So that's on the outside of the Arca-Swiss mount. And what you can't see is there's another tab in here that's on the inside of the Arca-Swiss mount. So what that means is this does not move. You can slap it into the holster, jam it down all day long, and it will not move. It's rock solid, and it's reversed. So my hand goes here, and no longer do I have this sticking into my palm. Oh, this was such an unexpected bonus for me. I really wasn't even thinking about this when I decided I wanted to try out the cage. And then once I got to the point where I realized I could put the smaller bracket on my camera, which saves me space and saves me weight, and I could reverse it so that the camera would be more comfortable in my hand, it's game over. It's game over at that point. This is exactly what I want to be able to do. And by the way, this particular mount, the small mount, it also has a built-in Arca-Swiss mount. So I lose my Arca-Swiss mount that's on my cage, but that's okay because I get it back with the one that's built into the Spyder holster. So I can just use this to mount it on a tripod. So I love this. Now, what's the downside? Well, you know, it's if you want to open up the back screen, as you can see, it's going to be, this is right here. So it's not going to be as easy to get to the back screen. You know, in fact, there are 3 areas that are going to be less convenient for you if you get this cage and put it on your X-H2 or your X-H2s. 1, if you're using the Spyder holster the way I am, this is not going to be as convenient to get out. 2, the PASM dial, not going to be as convenient to turn. And 3, the ISO button, not going to be as convenient to get to. But what's the plus side? The plus side is you suddenly have a place for your pinky. You suddenly have a place for your finger. You can use this, which you couldn't use before, which makes it more comfortable in your hand and easier to put onto your hip. And there's little things too, like when you've got one of these on your camera, you don't set your camera down like this on a table surface. You set it down like this. Well, now, if I set it down sideways, I'm setting it on the cage bar instead of setting on the actual camera. So I'm not scratching up my camera, I'm setting on the cage bar. So that's a nice little bonus. This right here, it gives you just a little bit more roundness to the grip, a little bit more space in there, a little bit more comfortable into the hand. You feel like you've got a grip of something. It's just lovely. Oh, I want to point this out too, by the way. If you want to take your battery out, there's a little lever here, and you have to open this lever. See this lever? Can you see that? Yeah, let me do it again. There it is. You have to do that before you open up the battery compartment. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's necessary because this door will not open all the way if the lever's in place. If the lever's in place, the door won't open. So you got to move the lever, and then the door will open. Again, a small little inconvenience for the big convenience of having a firm, rock-solid grip on your camera and being able to use the smallest thing on the bottom and the Arca-Swiss mount. I think you can see where I'm going with this. I'm excited about this cage. I haven't been excited about a new piece of equipment in a while. And when you're doing it as long as I have, it's rare that you are using something that's not only new to you, but the whole idea of it is new, and I've never had a cage on my camera before. So I'm excited now to go work an event with this cage on my camera because I want to see how it works throughout the day, but I think I'm really going to be happy. Because I liked the idea of the cage. Once I started holding it, I liked the grip of it. Everything was great. But once I found out how well it was going to work with my spider holster system, it was game over. So there you go. I know that if you're a video person, you may be thinking, wow, this wasn't a very good review for me. I'm sorry, but that's the nature of my channel. Subscribe to my channel and give me a like, because my channel is really about my experiences as a photographer, and it's very personal to the equipment that I use. There are tons of great channels where all people do is review equipment. I'm not that person. It's more about my personal stuff, and you get the opinion of a professional photographer, working photographer who's actually using this gear. All right, I hope this helped out, and thanks for watching.